The Islanders lose a tough one in overtime, 4-3, and this one hurt, and it wasn't without its controversies. We'll break down what the Islanders needed to do better. We'll have our key takeaways from the game, and we'll answer your questions. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We want to thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. And don't forget to subscribe on your podcatcher of choice or on YouTube so you can get the latest episodes as soon as they drop. We have got a lot to discuss, a lot of controversy, a lot of heartbreak in Game 2 of this series. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on the show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your name and where you're from, first name only, where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles. And you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders. Well, okay, it's the playoffs. I'm live tweeting during every Islanders home and road game. And join me for some instant insight and analysis. And really, it's always great to interact with Islanders fans, game time or anytime. So do reach out and let's talk a little Isles hockey. All right, let's cut to the chase. Islanders fall in overtime. Final score 4-3. And this one was tough. It was tough for a lot of reasons. And this game was not without its benefits or its high points. I mean, the Islanders were down 2-0 in this game and still managed to come back, tie it, take the lead, but they couldn't hold it. And they end up falling by that 4-3 score. And we'll talk about the controversy at the end and even before the end. But, you know, you know me, I don't like to talk about the officiating. It's just not, what I like to do. I theoretically think, it kind of balances itself out over the course of the game. But this particular game, well, we'll get to that in our next segment. But the Islanders did a lot of things well. And then the things they didn't do well really came back to bite them and hurt them. And I want to talk a little bit about some of those things. Physically, they were on the money. And you go down this roster, Ryan Pollock, 7 hits. 7 hits for Cal Clutterbuck. 6 hits for Matt Martin. The Islanders, as a team, were very, very physical. They out-hit the Carolina Hurricanes, and it did have an effect on Carolina. It wore them down as the game went on. I think it's part of the reason the Islanders were able to overcome the early 2-0 deficit and come back and take the lead. So they did that well. And, that was really good to see. Kyle Palmieri, Brock Nelson, each a goal and an assist. And that was certainly welcome. And Palmieri raising his game. Don't understand why he was the Islander forward with the 3rd least ice time in this game. I don't get that, but he was. And, Brock Nelson doing his thing, a +2, as was Palmieri in this game, and as was Pierre Engvall, although Engvall did not really play, didn't have as big of an impact on the game as his other to typical line mates. How big was it to see Matthew Barzal score a goal? He played 19 minutes and 6 seconds in this game. And, look, is he back to vintage Barzy midseason form? No. And he's not going to be. Maybe by game 4, 5, 6, he'll be back if there is, games 5 and 6. But he'll be closer to his form. But that goal coming down the middle, staying to the middle, going toward the net, and then hesitating just enough to use the defenseman as a screen, that was a pretty goal. And I give credit where credit is due in that respect. But those were some of the highlights in this game for the Islanders, and the fact that they didn't quit. You're on the road in a playoff game, and you give up that second goal, which was the power play goal, which, by the way, power play goals in this series right now, 3 for Carolina, none for the Islanders. It is a factor in this series, and it's something that has hurt the Islanders all year long. When you're playing better teams, and Carolina, by the way, second best record in the league. When you're playing better teams, you have much less margin for error. You can't afford to lose the special teams battle by that much. But that second goal, boy, did that hurt. It was officially credited to Stefan Nason, but we all saw that replay. It went in off Sebastian Aho's stick. He tried to swat at it, and he deflected it right into the net. Was it intentional? No. In the NHL, they do not officially count own goals like they do in soccer, where if you put the ball into your team's goal, it'll say on the score sheet, own goal by the player on your team. But right now, the Carolina Hurricanes have to be thinking humorously that both their Sebastian Aho and the Islanders' Sebastian Aho have scored goals for Carolina in this game. I felt for Sebastian Aho. He played a solid game for the most part. 19 minutes, 23 seconds of ice time, and he was a +1. Yeah, he struggles in his own zone. He is not good, but 3 block shots for Sebastian Aho. And I will say this about him. He didn't let the own goal bother him. He didn't back down after that. And every time, even though he's small and he has trouble winning one-on-one battles when the other team is forechecking him, he didn't quit. He didn't let it bother him. He kept pressing. 3 block shots for Sebastian Aho. He is in playoff mode. He tied with Ryan Pollock for the team lead in that category, and I give him credit for that. But that own goal, not a very good move, and boy, did that end up coming back to bite the Islanders. But there was something else that happened in this game before we even get to the officiating that really did hurt the Islanders, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever, Built. You got to try this. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real chocolate, and they come in amazing flavors like peanut butter brownie, churro, and my personal favorite, the cookies and cream. I'm not sure how Built does it, but not only do these protein bars taste like a candy bar, but listen to the macros. 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar on average per bar, but they pack a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you could still go to built.com and have a box delivered directly to your home, but you don't need to wait anymore, because now you can go over to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and still pick up a box in person. That's right. If you go to Walmart, to the pharmacy section, you could pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream or double chocolate or coconut puff. And Sam's Club, you can get a 13-bar box of brownie batter puff or churro puff. So check out Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. You can thank me later. So one thing that really did hurt the Islanders in this game, and it's not something that has hurt this team very often this year. In fact, it is the one thing that has kept the Islanders in all these games, that allowed them to reach the playoffs. Ilya Sorokin. Ilya Sorokin, his save percentage, 889. That's not great, but it's not terrible. But he did give up 4 goals in 36 shots. And I'll be honest with you, at least 2 of those goals were because he didn't take the proper angle. And if you go back and watch the replays, he was too deep in his net. One of the goals was taken, the tying goal. That was a shot by Slavin from practically behind the goal line, went in off of Sorokin's head or back shoulder, and he just didn't take the right angle. The game winner in overtime, he was too deep in his net again, did not take the proper angle, and it cost him. The one goal, that the own goal, the one that Nason was credited with, he didn't handle that well. He didn't react quickly, but it was completely unexpected. That's a fluke, okay? But the last 2 goals he gave up, the game tire and the game winner, these were not typical. Ilya Sorokin lets these in. To let in one of them is unusual. To let in 2, especially in a big playoff game, especially when you're trying to hold a lead, which lasted all of 3 minutes and 1 second, or you're trying to win a game in overtime, you can't allow goals like that to get past you. It just, this is when you need your goalie to be the best player on your team. All season long, Ilya Sorokin did that, but not last night in game 2 against the Carolina Hurricanes, and it did cost the New York Islanders. Got to give a little credit right now to Brent Burns of Carolina. He has 4 assists in 2 games. Basically, Carolina has scored 6 goals in this series, and Brent Burns has assisted on 4 of them. He's 38 years old, but he still is dangerous anytime he touches the puck. And, one big edge that Carolina has on the New York Islanders is the way their defensemen step up into the play and just play at a different level. You've got Slavin and Burns and Brady Shea and Shane Gostisbehere. The Islanders have, at best, 2 really good mobile defensemen. And when I say good, I mean good at skating with the puck or passing the puck and moving the puck. And those 2 are both their worst defensive defensemen out of the regulars in Sebastian Aho and Noah Dobson. Carolina has 4, and they do a better job of moving up and not getting caught up ice than the Islanders do. And that is an advantage that Carolina has in this series, and it's been a difference maker in this series. And the fact that Brent Burns, a veteran who's been through the wars, who's been on some very long playoff runs with San Jose and with Minnesota, and now with Carolina, this year, he is still capable of really being a difference maker anytime he has the puck, and he always wants the puck. He's great on the power play, and the Islanders have to figure out a way to slow him down. Now, when we go to game 3 Friday night and the Islanders have home ice advantage, they also have the last change. So maybe that can help change things around a little bit for the New York Islanders. And don't forget that, Friday night is that next game for the Islanders, and it's going to be a big one. They are going to need to get that game back. So for the Islanders playing game 3 Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Catch every minute of this big playoff game at a hometown broadcast on SiriusXM, on the SiriusXM app. Just search Islanders. We got to talk about the officiating. I'm sorry it's taken this long, but we do have to discuss it. Power plays in this game: 6 for the Carolina Hurricanes, 0 for the New York Islanders. And look, you know me, I'm never one to complain about the officials. I'll say there were questionable calls or occasionally, or ticky-tack calls occasionally, but I would say for the most part, NHL officials have a very hard job and they do it well. But I can't argue with the 6 calls against the Islanders, including the double minors. Blood was drawn. The NHL rulebook says even if it's inadvertent, you're responsible for your stick. And the 6 power plays given up by the Islanders were legit calls, even if they were frustrating. But you can't tell me that there were no penalties against the Carolina Hurricanes in this game. And yeah, I know home ice advantage, the crowd does help make referees more aware of penalties that are against the road team that happen when a stick hits a member of the home team in the face, the crowd reacts in a way that brings it to the attention of the official. So I understand there could be a slight edge, but there were some calls that should have gone against Carolina. It should never in a game, unless one team is blatantly roughing up the other team, it should never be 6-0, especially in a playoff game. You could tell me it should, be 4-2 in favor of the home team. I don't like it, but I understand it. But 6-0, and then to add insult to injury at the end of the game. Clearly, if you look at the replay, and it happened right in front of the linesman, Scott Mayfield takes a stick to the face, and the game-winning goal goes right past where Mayfield is grabbing his face, and Jesper Fast scores. You saw it coming, but had that high sticking penalty been called, the play is whistled dead. And it really should have been called under those circumstances. So, I'm not complaining about any of the individual calls. The final power play numbers should never be 6-0. I mean, the Islanders are not the Broad Street Bullies, okay? They're not using, rough stuff as a way of intimidating their opponent and figuring the refs won't call at all. This is not the 70s Philadelphia Flyers, but boy, oh boy, 6-0 is inexcusable. And to have the game decided on a play where there's a blatant high stick, and I know linesmen don't typically call penalties, but they can make that call, bring it to the attention of the referee, huddle up, have it go back to, discuss it, and come to the right conclusion, because it was right in front of the linesman. If you watch the replay, the linesman is staring at Mayfield when he takes a stick to the face. So that was frustrating. And, hearing all the Hurricanes fans, and I know fans are not objective, but hearing all the Hurricanes fans after their team was ahead in power play 6-0, yelling obscenities at the referees, ref you blank, ref you blank. I mean, come on, you guys had a 6-0 power play advantage. What else do you want in this game? There was a too many men on the ice penalty that could have been called, wasn't called. The high stick wasn't called. There were a couple of slashes that weren't called. It should never be 6-0. And that made it even more frustrating for the New York Islanders. All right, we've got more to get to. We'll have our unsung hero and our GOAT of the game. We'll get to that. We'll answer a few of your emails, and we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day. So lots more coming on today's episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Don't forget, Friday, game 3 of this series, the Islanders going up against the Carolina Hurricanes. It is now a must win for the Islanders. There's just no way around it. But again, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and catch every minute of this game with an Islanders hometown broadcast on SiriusXM, on the SiriusXM app. Just search Islanders. All right. Our unsung hero and GOAT of the game. Well, let's start with the GOAT and get it over with. I hate to do this because I like the kid, but I'm giving it to Samuel Bolduc. He took a double minor penalty. It was a -1. So in addition to the double minor that ended up costing the Islanders that second goal, the own goal, he only was on the ice for 5 minutes and 8 seconds. And I will say this to Lane Lambert. If you don't have any confidence in Samuel Bolduc, that you're only putting him on the ice for 5 minutes, that he's benched for the last 15 minutes roughly of the second period, all of the third period and into overtime, then whether it's hopefully Alexander Romanov maybe is ready to return for game 3, or whether you have to go to Parker Wotherspoon or Robin Salo, whatever you have to do, go to the alternative. So I hate to do it. I like Bolduc. I think next year or the year after, he's going to be a quality NHL top 6 defenseman. He'll probably be a second or third pairing guy, but I think he has a lot of potential. But he, to me, will be the GOAT of the game, with, I guess, Ilya Sorokin being a second choice. And if I'm going for the unsung hero of this game, I'm going to give it 2. And this is not an easy decision. I'm going to give it to Noah Dobson. Yeah, he was sloppy in his own zone at times, but 2 assists and a +3. Blocked a shot, had a takeaway, and officially no giveaways. So Noah Dobson, the unsung hero of the game. The heroes to me, Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri, who had the goal and the assist each. So we got some questions that came in. This one is from Leslie. He did not say where he is from, but I believe it's New Jersey. How much of the team's power play ineptness is on Lou Lamoriello? Lou's style of players were they are a bunch of plumbers, and there's not enough skaters or speedsters. And to me, that's the cause of why the power play is so bad. This does not work in today's hockey, which requires speed and skating. Leslie, I think the lack of talent offensively, the lack of speed, the lack of finishing skills is largely on Lou Lamoriello. I've discussed that in the past. The addition of Bo Horvat was supposed to help, but then he lost Matthew Barzal. But I also think there's other factors at work. This power play is not well coached. It's not well organized. And I think that has certainly something to do with why this power play is struggling. Firebird asks, I'm disappointed with Lou. He hasn't done enough to put a decent offensive team out there at playoff time. So far, Horvat seems to be disappointing. Is it the closer checking of Eastern Division teams? Well, Firebird, first of all, thanks for the email. And I think I don't want to say Eastern Division teams. I do want to say that it has something to do with the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes are one of the better checking teams in the league right now, and they certainly are shutting down the Islanders. But, Bo Horvat, he came up big for Vancouver in the bubble in 2020. He so far has not been productive with the Islanders lately. I think the Islanders system certainly makes it tougher to score for Horvat and everyone. But yeah, his lack of production in these first two games is certainly disappointing. Time for one more quick one. This one is from John. He says, with how well the Islanders played tonight, and they still can't beat the Hurricanes, do you see them winning back at UBS? I feel like they have been jinxed out of this series already with everything that has gone against them. John, thanks for the email. I can't say they're jinxed. They certainly can do better. And I think, the old adage is that a playoff series isn't over. You're not in trouble until you lose at home. They need to win both of these games at UBS this weekend, but they're not out of it yet. One other piece of news, Teuvo Teravainen injured in the game, out for the series, broken hand. We certainly wish him a speedy recovery. Don't ever like to see players injured. Quickly, time for our Islanders birthday of the day. And we are spot on time for Steve Webb. He is 48 today, the Peterborough, Ontario native, a seventh-round pick of the Sabres back in 1994, but made his NHL debut with the Isles in 96-97. And here's a guy who later played for the Penguins, and then, that was the end of his NHL career. 321 games, 5 goals, 18 points, and 532 penalty minutes. Webb, a tough guy, very popular with the fans. We go back to October 28th, 2001 at the Nassau Coliseum, where Webb had the first goal in the Islanders' 3-2 win over the Dallas Stars. Marty Turco was the goalie, and Webb also had 2 penalty minutes in that game. So quickly, a very happy 48th birthday to a former Islanders winger and tough guy, Steve Webb. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. Wow, we have got a big game coming up on Friday. Again, the game is at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and you can catch every minute of it with an Islanders hometown broadcast on SiriusXM, on the SiriusXM app. Just search Islanders. And I want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, and you know who you are, and thank you for being an everydayer. Tomorrow on the show, we will preview the 2 games coming up this weekend. And please let me know. I'm considering doing a bonus episode on Friday night after the game is over. If you want me to do one, just comment either on YouTube or send an email or on Twitter. So please reach out and let me know. Until then, keep the faith, folks. We can get back into this series. Both games have been 1-goal games. Have a great day. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.